Surging U.S. virus cases. They raise fear that progress is slipping. Well, I don't know what progress really, honestly, had been made.
This coronavirus is for real. And we out here as public workers doing our job, trying to make an honest living to take care of our families. But for you to get on the bus and stand on the bus and cough several times without covering up your mouth.
You literally cannot mandate somebody to wear a mask.
And you know that we in the middle of a pandemic. That lets me know that some folks don't care.
And I will hold you accountable for their blood.
So we had a window there where I think people formed an idea that we could always be safe from this sort of infectious disease that could come and take you out. But this is just how things used to be, and we're getting back to that. So we're back to living with the risk of death there. I think that's a great point.
Sadly, Jason Hargrove was infected with the coronavirus. He got sick and he died Wednesday night, less than 2 weeks after posting that video. He was 50 years old. He leaves behind a wife. Jason Hargrove quite literally put his life on the line for the city of Detroit, for the mobility of the people that live there.
And we're going back to a period at the beginning of my life when antibiotics were just coming in at the end of World War II for civilian use. Penicillin had been discovered. But before that, when we were building our railroads, when we were building our cities, we lived with the possibility that tomorrow would not come. Everybody knew that an infection could spell death. We're back to that era. The world doesn't end. Your world may end, but mankind goes on and economies go on.
We're just basically back to the future here, and we now have among us a disease that we can't control.
At a commissioners' meeting in Florida's Palm Beach County, anger erupted after a unanimous vote to make masks mandatory. This turned downright ugly. Here was the scene.
You literally cannot mandate somebody to wear a mask knowing that that mask is killing people. It literally is killing people. And we the people, are waking up, and we know what citizens arrested. Because citizens arrests are already happening, okay? And every single one of you that are obeying the devil's laws are going to be arrested. And you, doctor, are going to be arrested for crimes against humanity.
The problem with humanity today is ignorance, arrogance, and apathy. Keep taking the road of least resistance. Keep listening to the TV brainwashing you from birth.
And they want to throw God's wonderful breathing system out the door. You're all turning your backs on it.
Doctor, I really have many question marks about your degrees and what you really know. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't think that you are worthy of your credentials. And I would ask suggestively that you go back to school and get educated.
And somehow, mask wearing became a politicized event. It's the only country I'm aware of where masks and the wearing of masks is a political event for people and confers something about your political status, whether you are or are not wearing a mask.
After the island nation of Jamaica reopened its borders on June 15th, there were 14 new cases, all from the U.S. Americans are literally too dangerous to be let out of our country.
Seattle's mayor announcing the dismantling of the chop zone earlier this week.
Again, it's unclear who has taken hold of this space. Like I said, a complex issue with a lot of layers to it.
Done this a couple times before.
Never reported these types of numbers. Turner reports highest number of COVID-19 cases in Houston. To prevent a big setback, he said the best thing people can do is put on a mask and follow in lines with the order. He warned that those who are going to bars and clubs with no masks need to understand that just because you don't have symptoms does not mean you aren't carrying the virus.
Now that asymptomatic transmission is very clear, there's plenty of evidence of it, and we have early evidence that masks can reduce transmission even up to 6-fold. Done this a couple times before. South Korea, they never went into a lockdown mode, a full sort of lockdown mode. What did they do? They tested early and they wore masks out in public, and they've had fewer than 300 people who've died, even though their first patient was confirmed on the same day the first patient was confirmed here in the United States.
says Christopher Leffler of Virginia Commonwealth University. It wasn't just by a few percent, it was up to 100 times less mortality. The countries that introduced masks from the very beginning of their outbreaks have had hardly any death.
Yeah, it's as if the wearing of a mask has become a cultural touchstone here, a wedge issue almost. The president refuses to wear one. People at his rallies are haphazard at best, about whether they will wear one.
We're watching as a new wall is being erected around the White House, a new structure to protect the president from the citizens he's sworn to protect. Today, the president flew down to Arizona to visit his other wall, the wall that is 3 total miles, completely new miles of fencing being built. 3. We got news of a possible new travel ban, a new attempt at border security, a type of wall, if you will. This one, not by the president, a guy who loves travel bans to keep people out. No, by the European Union to keep us out. Americans are literally too dangerous to be let out of our country. I'm sure it does not help the EU decision makers when they look at scenes like this from outside the president's megachurch rally, people packed in close proximity, and a fan blowing mist on people about to go into an indoor facility.
No, there's no indication that this is ending, certainly not in the United States.
This is starting to fit a larger pattern, which looks like this, that we're seeing slow or no recovery for many people. This comes from Thailand Medical News. Warning! The D614G mutation coronavirus strains from Europe could render those recovered from earlier strains defenseless, according to China. According to warnings from Chinese researchers, individuals infected with the earlier SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus strains, we'll call those COVID classic, could be defenseless against the more aggressive European strains with the D614G mutations. All right, now we have some data maybe for why China reacted so strongly to the Xinfadi food market outbreak in Beijing.
Inside one neighborhood in Beijing, a group of workers are seen sealing a building's entrance. Medical staff wearing protective suits appear to be overseeing the job. It shows occasional flashes of the residents inside the building. Beijing, China's capital city, seems to be turning into a second Wuhan. People are locked inside their own homes. Authorities say it's to control the pandemic. After the workers are finished, the entrance appears to have an airtight seal. A man inside is seen looking out from the second floor. One netizen took to social media. He questioned whether the goal was to eliminate the residents living there. Another user asked what would happen if the building's fire alarm went off.
For so few cases, there is no need to block roads and put the whole city, all the neighborhoods, under lockdown. Once these measures are applied, there must be at least thousands of cases in the city. People know nothing about the mutation of the virus in China. Very likely it has already mutated. In Wuhan, the virus never disappeared. The virus has been spreading among the Chinese population all this time.
Ezekiel 3:18 through 19. When I say to a wicked person, you will surely die, and you do not warn them or speak out to dissuade them from their evil ways in order to save their life, that wicked person will die for their sin, and I will hold you accountable for their blood. But if you do warn the wicked person, and they do not turn from their wickedness or from their evil ways, they will die for their sin, but you will have saved yourself.
Article reads, as coronavirus patients recover from the illness, doctors and patients are discovering that COVID-19 is leaving the, quotes, recovered with long-term debilitating physical, cognitive, and psychiatric damage, and sometimes even in people who only suffered mild symptoms. Patients are suffering from phantom pains, memory loss, personality changes, psychological issues, and extreme fatigue, along with lungs that won't heal, even months after being discharged from hospital, according to an investigation by Israel's Channel 12 TV.